Hey, JCT drivers. This is Danny Christner, Chief Operating Officer, and I'm sitting here today with Daryl Christner, our CFO, and talking about kind of the state of the industry and the company. And we've got some interesting and new developments to talk to you about. First of all, as most of you know, from 2017 through 2018 was probably one of the most crazy volatile freight markets we've seen in the history of our company. The ratio of loads to trucks was over 10 to 1 in the reefer market during a lot of that time. And so we were able to go out and secure some pretty nice contract increases, and certainly the spot market was surging as well. And those were passed on in the form of multiple driver pay increases, which Daryl's going to touch on. What a different year 19 has been. So far we've seen that ratio of loads to trucks has been below 3. So from over 10 to 1 to 3 to 1 so far this year has just created a little bit of excess capacity in the marketplace. We at JCT, we've always differentiated ourselves by being a premium service provider, and that relates to the job that you do out on the road and that our people do in operations. And as we worked through some large bids with our biggest customers this year, there was pressure on pricing from a lot of different areas. Some large carriers, some large brokers were really getting aggressive trying to gain market share. And while we had to do some discounting, and maybe a little bit more discounting than what we'd like to have, we certainly didn't have to match some of the low quotes that they were seeing. And that was totally as a result of the service and the relationships that we have with those customers. So I can say that most of the lanes that you're used to hauling and the productivity that you've grown accustomed to here should be as good or better this year. We're very thankful for that, because we've seen some turnover in the marketplace with some large carriers that aren't going to have the type of miles and the productivity that JCT has. So, from our end, we feel positioned very well for 2019. Like I said, over 50% of our business was up for bid in the first quarter, and we did well in those bids. We actually kept most of our lanes, gained a few new lanes, and so the traffic patterns and the things that we do to keep you moving and get you home and all that stuff shouldn't change too much. So definitely good news on that end. And now it's all about, as we start to get busy through the summertime, watching reefer temps, making sure we're pulping product and keeping up with all the requirements that go with transporting our products safely and in the proper condition. And I know you guys have already proven to be the best in the industry, as Walmart has recognized us as Carrier of the Year again this year. That's 3 out of the last 4 years we've been recognized that way. And that doesn't happen by accident. That happens because of the great job and the commitment and the dedication that all our people do out there. So I want to thank you very much for that. And as we continue to bring on new business and get new opportunities, we'll be updating you on these podcasts and providing more information. So Daryl's got some other stuff he'd like to touch on, but be safe out there, and thank you for all you do.
Yeah, thanks, Danny. Guys, what I was going to do here is talk a little bit about pay, kind of where we're at, where we've been, and where we're going. First thing we wanted to bring up is that we've been, through our driver managers and communications with you guys and gals, we've identified a couple of what we refer to as pay friction points, and so I wanted to give an update on how we're addressing that. And so one of the friction points is that we had been paying on multiple pick loads, not paying anything until you got to the 5th pickup. What we're going to do is change our policy on that, and that is effective on loads emptied today going forward. And so we'll start paying after the first pickup. So from the second pickup on, you will be paid $40 per pickup. So it'll exactly match the same payout that we do on drop pay. So again, any multiple pickup loads, anything after the first pickup on the load will pay at $40 per pickup going forward. Another friction point that came up was that when you go home, when you go for home time, we had a policy in place where when you came out of the house, we paid the shortest distance from where you dropped before you went home, and then where the load that you were going to pick up picked up. So we're going to change our policy on that, and we're going to start paying for the actual deadhead that you incur coming out of the house to go pick up the next load. Deadhead to the house is still not paid, but deadhead miles coming out of the house to go to the next load will now be paid. And now I want to talk a little bit about sort of pay history and kind of where we're at and where we're going. As Danny referenced, this market got crazy. In fact, as crazy as we've ever seen it in the history of our business in kind of late 17, moving into 18, and certainly has changed again as we're kind of nearing the midway point here through 19. So if we go back and as we came into 17, our base pay was at 90 cents a mile. And so on November 1st of 17, that went from 90 to 93 cents a mile. On December the 1st of 2017, that went from 93 to 96 cents a mile. And then on 4/1 of 18, it went from 96 cents to $1 a mile. And that was the base pay. And we were still paying, obviously, the 5 cent a mile premium for teams, as well as the 2 cent a mile safety bonus that gets paid on a quarterly basis. So, and then all that's staying the same. Then we got into the kind of the holiday period of the year, and we instituted what we called a holiday surcharge that kicked in on 11/15 of 18 and was going to expire on 1/15 of 19, and that was 5 cents a mile. Before it expired on 1/15 of 19, we retermed it market surcharge and extended it indefinitely. And so the change that's coming on that is that for loads that are emptied on or after May 15th of 2019, that surcharge will now pay at 3 cents a mile. For loads that are emptied on or after 5/31/19, that will pay at a penny a mile. And I'll go through that one more time here. So the surcharge that's currently, market surcharge is currently 5 cents a mile. As of May 15th of 2019, will go to 3 cents a mile, and then further on 5/31 of 19 will go to 1 cent per mile. And we'll revisit that as market conditions warrant. That is an additional sort of pay piece that we've been able to think was valid as the market warranted, and we'll continue to take a look at it as things go forward. Obviously, as we move forward with this, if you have any questions, everyone, the folks in settlements will be well versed on this and kind of take you through your settlements. You will most likely see on your settlement loads that are paid at one rate and then a load that's paid, at the new rate as we go forward with this. But wanted to get that out there, and any questions at all, contact settlements, contact me, and we can go through it. So anything else, Dan?
Yeah, I think one other thing I wanted to touch on is the actual fuel surcharge payments. As it varies by customer. We've had our schedule in place for over a decade or two now, and it hasn't changed, and that's not going to change. But just so drivers are aware, two of our largest customers have recently reduced their fuel surcharge. And to give you an example, for this week, that fuel surcharge is currently around 27 cents a mile. So when you look at our reimbursement to operators, I think it's running at 31 or 32 cents a mile. And then the fact that in our program we also cover all the reefer fuel, which can vary by seasonally, based on temperatures and stuff. It can go from anywhere from 5 to 6 cents a mile. We've actually kind of gotten into a deficit situation with fuel surcharge where we're paying out almost 10 cents more per mile to operators than what we're collecting on a lot of our miles. That's just a trend in the industry. As you guys are getting more miles per gallon, the customers and the shippers recognize they run their own fleets, and so they see what their cost of fuel is based upon trucks that used to get 5 or 6 miles per gallon are now getting 7 and 8 miles per gallon. So it's a place where the shippers just continue to kind of whittle that away. But we feel like that's something we want to keep you whole on, and we pay on fuel surcharge and base rate pay on not only just loaded miles but also on empty miles. So it's a big expense to us, but it's part of the program that we think makes it valuable, where you don't have to worry about that fuel cost, you don't have to worry about your empty miles. Those are things that we have to worry about here in operations. So with all the other, inherent benefits of the program, it's kind of an all-inclusive program. I think it's a great step in the right direction to now pay for those pickups, pay for your miles out of the house, and then continue to keep you whole in that fuel surcharge in spite of what's going on in the industry right now. So that's just something I wanted to add to let you know. We're feeling it from our shippers, but we're going to do everything we can to try to insulate our operators and keep you whole on those programs.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. I will also add that we are also piloting a percentage pay option. We've actually got some trucks that are currently running on that program, and so much more information to follow on that as we pilot that and kind of work through any complications that come from the admin or the settlement part. So more news to follow on that.
Yeah, I think that's something we've seen. People have some people desire to work on percentage versus fixed mileage pay. So as we continue to evolve that program and get ready to offer that up, we think that's going to be just another alternative that you have here at JCT.